well, old enough, but I remember her pulling my hair and, oh man, was she mad at me. I heard that you said you were gonna go upstairs and get something out the closet. So I couldn't run
you
up.
scared me.
I ran upstairs in the closet and closed the door. And then when you opened up the door, I went boo. And you got so scared and oh God, I remember her pulling me my hair.
She still liked me better than you.
Yeah, she did. She liked her better. She thought, oh, I feel sorry for Ronnie. I'll beat the hell out of this one.
Yeah.
See, and I don't remember, and Dad too. The only time Dad cracked me on the fanny and really good, I was running away. It was in the house though, and Dad and Mom said, "Crack her, Dad." Boom!
You didn't even know what for.
I know.
Did what Mama said.
I know. I remember it so well. But I don't remember what I did, but I remember that's the only time Dad ever hit me.
Really though, he was our hero.
He was.
He was a hero to
I
us.
probably was just shocked to death
Yeah,
that Dad hit me.
yeah, he was. He just loved us so much, and he did so much for us.
Mother gave him 50 cents allowance. He gave us a quarter to us for ours.
I know, yeah.
I mean, he was.
Well, you know, Mom was so into saving. It was almost an obsession.
Yes, it was.
And like I said, when I had to put $10 in the bank and I was allowed $1, you have to understand I was going to be a senior in high school. How could I buy anything on a buck? I was working all summer and I was so excited to have this money, and she wouldn't let me have it. I helped myself to my mother's purse all the time. When she wasn't looking, I went to the coin purse and I stole out of her purse.
See, she did get in trouble.
Yeah.
See,
I just never got caught.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
that's
did.
not getting into trouble.
It bugged
If you
me
don't get
because
caught.
it was my money, and it's not that I wouldn't have shared a portion of it with the bank, but I just didn't think 10 and 1 was fair.
And let me tell
So
you,
I didn't care. I banked 10 and took it from her.
we had very few clothes for school.
Never got
Very
anything
few
new.
clothes. Even with us working, you'd think we would have been able to have a few more clothes than what we had.
Like I said, when I graduated from high school,
Yeah.
I worked at the bank right by the high school, and Lieb's was a very fashionable ladies' dress shop back then, like Dana's is now. And with my first paycheck, I went and bought a skirt and a sweater. I was so excited over this. It wasn't from Atlantic Meals, which is the same as Unique, for goodness sakes. That was our thrift store. And I was so excited about buying this skirt and sweater, and when I came home, I thought Mother was going to kick me out of that house because I spent my first paycheck on a sweater and skirt. Something, I was so proud of it, and I was so glad, and she was so angry. I worked 1 year after high school. I don't mean to sound bad about my mom. It's just that her money was very, very, very important to her. I worked 1 year after high school in a bank. And at the end of that year, Marion and I were going to go to California on a vacation, which was, you didn't do things like that.
Yeah, see.
And
You're a
her
girl.
sister Charlotte was living in California at the time because her husband was in the service and he was going out to sea for 8 months. So Marion and I were going to fly out to California, spend a couple weeks out there with Char, getting her apartment packed up, and then we were going to drive Charlotte back home because she was coming to live for 8 months while Les was out at sea. So I told my mother, I says, I'm going to go to California with Marion and we're going to fly. Oh, no, you're not. Yeah, I am too. So, I mean, I saved money, and I saved money for that airplane, for that trip. I worked so hard, and then Mother still insisted I was not going on this vacation. And it was a Friday night, and my plane was leaving like at 7 at night, and I got off work, and I came home, and Lenny, I was going with Len at the time, and he brought me home from work, and my mother and Dad weren't home. They were gone, and I thought, how can they be gone? I'm leaving for California, and they're not here to say goodbye to me. I'll never forget that. I was just crushed. And I said, Len, I got to get going. Will you scramble me an egg? He scrambled me an egg, and we're getting this. He's making me this supper while I'm quick changing my clothes and throwing my last-minute stuff in the suitcase. And we're walking out on the back porch, and here come my mom and Dad. They pulled in the yard. They went grocery shopping. And I just was so crushed at this, and I said to Mother, I says, well, I'm leaving. Well, where are you going? And I says, I'm catching the airplane. I told you I'm leaving for California today. Are you really going? I mean, and I got in Len's car and he drove me to the airport and we left. I mean,
just
she was
never
in such
believed it.
denial
Oh.
over the fact that I was going to take this trip to California,
Oh,
and it was so
see?
foolish
I
that I
remember
do
that.
this.
Oh yeah, foolish is my word.
I remember how hurt I was. I was so hurt.
Instead of being
I wanted
excited
to be
for you.
excited about going.
Yeah.
I'd never been anywhere before my first airplane trip. And she wasn't even home when I came home from
Yeah,
work. And I
yeah.
thought, they just honestly do not believe
Well,
I
they
am
just
going on this
didn't
trip.
do things
I mean, if
like
we
that.
wouldn't have met them coming in the driveway and going out, I would have gone, and they wouldn't even have, they probably would have called the police, wondering where the hell I am.
Where did she go? Tell me she went.
Yeah.
Where did she go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. That was just, because you just didn't do things like that.
No, that's right. Just like when we built our house, we just didn't do things
Yeah.
like that. We
No.
just didn't.
So when Daddy built the cabinets for that 88-year-old house I had, we had a sink that hung in the wall. That's how old that house was. And it didn't have any cupboards. It was the bathroom. We didn't even have a bathroom to begin with. The people later on put one in the kitchen area, otherwise it was built with an outhouse. And my dad made me some just
Yeah.
cheap kitchen
He made mine
cabinets and
too.
painted them white,
Yeah.
and it was nice. So it was wonderful of him to do that. And we lived there for only 3.5 years, and then we sold it. But my mother was very upset
Yes.
over that because she says he worked so hard on making you those
And
cupboards, and you
John
moved
came. They helped
to
me
knock
get
a
some.
chimney down
I
in
know
the
him and
kitchen.
John. I think they did some wiring or something.
Well, the stove, it had a brick fireplace
knew
going
she
up
was
the kitchen
upset.
wall, and they knocked it down so it could push the stove up against
She
it.
didn't ever encourage improvement.
Never.
No.
No, no.
I mean,
Status
we're
quo.
talking like we don't love our
Yeah,
mother. We
and
love
she
our
was
mother.
a wonderful
frightened.
mother. She
I
was.
think the fact
Yeah.
that she went through depression,
No.
the depression years makes
know.
depression years makes a lot.
I don't
Barb,
care. Mother.
Dad went through
Oh, you still got the camera on. Oh, my
Dad went
gosh.
through depression too, and he didn't act that way.
No. I
Well,
think
Rick
that's
did
the way
too, but
Mother
I feel like
was.
Rick was, of course,
Well, I mean, it might have an effect on some people, but I think that's just the way Mom really, really, truly
It was,
was.
as soon as the depression was over, I would say, yippee, skippy,
I
we
made
got
it.
a secure job.
Yeah.
Yes, we survived,
We
and now
survived.
let's see what we can do to move
Yeah,
on.
but Mom didn't
I
do
didn't, they lived, Mother continued living her whole life like she was in the depression. That's why I don't think that the depression had that, it was a tough time, and she survived it.
Yeah.
Daddy always worked. You know,
I
so
know,
it
but
wasn't
I
that,
think
listen,
those
were
Grandma
really-
gave Mom and Dad the money to buy that house.
Where did
So
she
they
come up with the
paid
money?
cash for
Yeah.
their house, because my grandma gave it to them, but it was a loan. And so Mama had to make $25 a month house payment, which at that time was a lot. My mom paid $1,500 for that house. But it was paid for right from the get-go. And I'm sure if she couldn't make a payment, Grandma would have said, well, we'll just wait until you get on your feet. So actually, it wasn't all that tough. There were people that had it tougher
Yeah.
back then that didn't have a
I always felt
mother
like
with
people
money.
who lived through the depression though were always scared that it might return.
I don't
And that
know.
was my
I
feeling.
don't think Mother was that way, really. I don't.
No. I
And you
think
know,
she
when
was
they
just
had
very
that house,
thrifty.
it was a dream house.
Yes, it
Yes.
was.
It was Mom's dream house,
Yes,
and
it
Dad
was.
kept it like a dollhouse, really.
Yes, yes.
And then she bought it because she liked it and because it came with a refrigerator. And not a nice box, a refrigerator. And it had this little silver box in the middle of it that you opened up and it held one
Two
pour,
ice
a
cube
little bit
trays
of,
or
yeah,
that.
2 ice cube trays and maybe one something else, I don't know,
One
because
little
we didn't
thing
have
of
ice cream containers, yeah, little ice cream,
You went to Cabinet Drug and they'd pack it in a carton.
like chow mein.
Yeah, you'd have to put it in a silver container so it didn't get any bigger, otherwise it was metal. Otherwise you'd put too much ice cream in because it would spread out. You'd stick the carton in that
And
metal.
Yeah, metal thing,
You
yeah,
stick
that's
it in that
right.
metal thing, you put the carton in there and then you pack the ice cream in there. And that's what we,
Folded metal.
that would
And
go
you
in the,
packed it too heavy, Mr.
that
Cameron
would
would
be in
say.
that would be in the freezer. You could put that in the freezer.
And it was funny because when Connie was little, Connie must have been about 10, and I was working, and it was a Saturday afternoon, and my dad came over with a couple sticks of Polish sausage for me. And so when he pulls up to the house, Connie was there and he says, oh, your mom's working? He says, well, just tell her I bought her some Polish sausage. So he says, just put it in the icebox for her. So when I came home from work, Connie says to me, Grandpa told me to put it in the icebox. She says, and I don't know what an icebox is. She says, so I put it in the freezer. I said, oh, that's okay. They never called it a refrigerator. It was always an icebox.
Yeah.
Speaking of how important money was to your mom, tell about when, I think it was when your dad died and you were going through things in the house.
When
And
Daddy
where they
told
had-
us where his money was.
Where they had squirreled away.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was while he was still alive.
Oh, was
He
he
was
still
still
alive?
He was in a nursing home at that time. Yeah, because, I mean, the little bit of money he was given.
He was given an allowance by Mother.
Yes.
But if he got to get too much, then, if he needed a car, then he had to use his money because he had too much. But I think after a while, he just didn't tell Mom how much he had. And
Yeah.
he had told me one day, he took me down the basement, and he showed me where it was. He says, see this little fruit jar here? He says, that's where my money is. He says, if anything ever happens, he says, this is my little money here.
He had it in a silver box after that.
Yeah, milk
Yeah,
box.
because
It's like an old milk box,
box.
like your milkman leaves outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
had it on a shelf in this
I mean,
little
at that time,
pantry
it was
down there.
$16,000.
Yeah, was it that much? I thought it was like 11. But regardless, we couldn't believe it when we were counting it. And then when Mother said there's how much there, that was our mistake. We should never have done that and let her know. It upset her a whole
Yeah.
lot. A whole lot. She had a hard time going to see Daddy for a while after
Yeah,
that.
figure that out.
Yeah, because she
What
thought he was
difference
holding back on her from what? I mean, they had plenty
She
of
also had a lot of paranoia because she always thought Dad was having an affair with the lady
The
across the
neighbor, yeah.
street.
Mm-hmm.
And when they lived on 2nd Street, she thought with Patty Zelenin.
Yep.
She says,
Yeah.
he's in the garage waiting for her to come home from work. This is when Patty was already out of high school and working.
Yeah.
And that's how our mom really was a paranoid
Oh.
person. She was.
Yes.
And she,
Just in case
Well,
we're
what-
looking for history along the line here, it is in the family somewhere.
well, I'll tell
Yeah.
you what her problem was. She couldn't sleep.
Yes.
She didn't sleep good. And so therefore she became paranoid because of the lack of sleep. She could get by on very, very little sleep, hour or two, and not be tired. But her mind was
Starting
Listen,
to.
when I was already older, and when Mom was going through her change, it was very, very traumatic. And so that bothered me for when I was going to go through mine, because I remembered Mom she went through a severe depression.
And it was right at the same time that I got married. All of a sudden
And
it
she
was an
wouldn't
empty
even
nest
open
and
up
she
the
went through her
shades.
change.
Yep, she wouldn't open up the
Doctor
shades.
said take all pills out of the house.
And he said, I really think your mom should be having electric shock
Yeah, of
treatments.
course they don't really do
Yes,
that much
you
anymore,
know,
but Mom
so
that was a tough time
it
for
was.
Mama.
Oh, we were first married because we were living on 2nd
Right.
Street at Sotek's house. And what happened was our mom had a cataract removed from her eye. And she was in the hospital. And at that time, they put you in the hospital. She was even overnight.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, you'd think she was dying. And that it triggered it all.
Yeah, it seemed like
That's
it
what
started
triggered
when-
it.
when
And
it
then
was
she
bad.
wouldn't go shopping. I had to take my dad shopping.
She wouldn't answer the phone.
No,
she
she wouldn't
open
open up the door.
Kept all the blankets closed in
Eventually-
the house.
I'm glad I lived close because eventually I got her out of that house. Little by little, she got out and we worked her out of it. But we'd have to call the doctor and say,
Yep.
what can we give? She's going to come to see you. She's in a depression. What can we do to help her out?
That was a
Yeah,
tough time.
yeah.
That went on for over a year or maybe 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a tough time for her. That
Yeah.
was
So
a
then
real
when
tough
I didn't even know I went through a change. It was so simple.
Yeah,
My
none
daughter's having a worse time than I am.
Yeah, none
so.
of us remember having a hard
No.
time.
Uh-uh. Well, I think we work now and that Mom had more time on her hands. Mom maybe needed to work. But Mom was never a social butterfly. She always told us when we moved into our houses, don't talk
Coffee.
with your neighbors.
No.
You know, you just stay away, just mind your own business. You know, she
Mhm.
never.
Yeah.
But I don't think Mom had enough confidence in herself to
No.
go out and do that.
She didn't want Dad to either because she wouldn't let him join anything at church. She
No,
wouldn't, and she wouldn't let him.
Right, right.
So therefore he didn't, maybe he didn't want to, I don't know. He was probably content anyway, but he really didn't.
No,
Stella
no.
was her main person.
Yeah.
Because there were no neighbors.
No.
Right.
We had somebody on this side of us, but
We had
They
Rochers
were
around
rent-
him, but they weren't.
They were-
We
and they
knew
were-
them. We
yeah.
talked to them, but they never socialized.
no, they didn't. They were a little older. They were a little mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't really associate with Daddy's family either. Very, very.
In the young days, they did.
Not
though.
too much.
Oh,
No.
I thought they played cards a lot. They used to come over on Sunday because Jimmy Shooter used to come over all the time on Sundays.
Auntie Annie and Uncle Joe, but not Margaret
Yeah,
and
no,
Donald.
not
Margaret and
Margaret.
Donald.
No,
No.
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 Well, she never
didn't.
smiled.
Well, she didn't, and he was so quiet. He was like a little mouse. How are you going to invite people over that don't say
Yeah.
boo?
And Andrew and Ann, I never was in their house in my entire life.
Yeah, no. So
That
you
was
really,
Uncle
yeah, Joe. Well, you know, Dad was close with Joe because they fished.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
fished a lot.
Yeah, that was fishing.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and Andrew and Ann always lived northeast too, didn't they? Did they ever live north?
They lived next door. They lived right next door to Grandpa and Grandma were her.
On Washington before, while they were
right
still.
next door.
Yeah, they
is
had a house
that
right there.
right?
For a long time because they went to St. Philip's School.
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't remember Uncle Andy until he was old.
Well, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't. They
Oh, he
moved
belonged to
north.
St. Philip's, so he was a
Oh,
big
he's a
shot
big
at
shot.
St.
Mom, that's Mom's turn.
That's what our mother says. Oh, Uncle Andrew thinks he's got to run the church.
we were just saying that about George Zelnick. Because we were talking about going to church. And Stella and George, remember when they used to go to church? They were dressed to the nines. I mean, he had that hat on, that top
Yeah.
coat, and his white and black and white shoes, and Stella in her furs and her
I
hat.
remember that.
And they went to St. Cyril's, and he always sang. He didn't sing words. Well, he was in a band.
But you could hear them because our bathrooms, our houses were
Yeah.
so
I was
close.
doing that.
But
He
they
never sang words.
sang together too.
Yes, they
Oh,
did.
Stella had a beautiful voice,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
They were fun because he played the saxophone, and I mean, they were fun neighbors.
Yes, well, he used to be in a band when they first
Yeah,
got married.
yes.
When then he
Yes.
drove this big white Mercury with a Continental kit on the back. And when we were kids, we used to go swimming at Camden, and we'd always get like my dad to drive one way and George would drive the other way. So whenever George was driving, and we used to take us there, he used to scare the daylights out of us because we used to pile as many kids as we could possibly get into this car. And he didn't have a turnaround, so he had to back out the driveway onto 2nd Street and then around. Never would stop and look.
No.
Never would look. My dad at least would look, see
He was
the
a
cars are coming in.
nutcase.
They go. He would halfway down the driveway lay on his horn. Now his car is pointing the wrong way.
And like
And
this,
he's
he
laying
just-
on the horn like,
just-
okay, here I come. And he used to fly right out onto 2nd Street, and we used to hear squeal, squeal, squeal.
And it was always a
He'd
joke.
drive away going, ba 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 ba.
Yeah. And it was always a joke because they always got lost. And Molly would always say, we have to go via Russia.
Yep.
Everywhere they went via Russia because they would get lost.
And that was the only family. Now there was 8 kids, and Stella and George, and they had the Pepsi truck come to their house once a week. Like the big Pepsi trucks you see coming to the grocery store, that Pepsi truck stopped in front of their house with a
And
big
delivered-
dolly and delivered Pepsi Cola to their
Every
back
week.
porch every single week. Cases and cases of Pepsi.
Yep, they
I
did.
mean, how many people had that? We met somebody not too long ago. It was at the Polish Palace. And he drove, and he was older like us, and he remembered delivering to the
To
Zelenics.
Zelnick's? Isn't it funny?
How many
Isn't that
houses
funny?
did you deliver to? One.
One? Zelnick's?
The Zelenics. They drank Pepsi like crazy.
Oh,
They
yes,
always had-
cases. It was all stacked.
And
in
I'll
that
tell you
back
what,
porch.
they all had
Every week.
rotten teeth.
Yeah, they did.
They all had
They
rotten
did.
teeth.
Yeah, they did.
There was no diet pop back then.
No, they all had very.
And they
poor-
always shopped at Castler's, and Stella didn't drive, so she used to call on the telephone,
They delivered.
and they delivered it
Yeah.
on her groceries.
We
But
had
boy, they ate
actually
those-
they come outside always eating a pork chop.
Oh, they.
Yes, they did.
I was jealous. It smelled so good, and they had a pork chop
They've been
sandwich.
chewing on that bone.
I mean, they ate good for having 8 kids.
Yes.
He was a printer. He worked
Star
for the Star
Tribune.
Tribune.
Yes.
And he had big printers in his garage.
But you can imagine, Chris,
outside.
with 8 kids and us, and we had lilac bushes. There was a little path through there
Between
that
archway.
right into the yard. So when Molly and I, who are best friends to this day, when we got mad at each other, we drew a line right
Ken
there.
Cross.
I sat right there, Molly sat right there. Don't come in my yard. Don't come in my yard.
And don't talk, because I don't even want to hear your voice in my yard.
I know. I don't know how we did well though with the
Yes.
Zondlo. And we didn't get,
They're like family.
Yeah.
And then those vines that divided our houses with the archway were choke cherries. And so my dad used to pick the choke cherries in the fall and make choke cherry wine.
yeah, we
It's
would
good
have
stuff.
fermenting wine upstairs in the attic.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
It was
See,
fermenting.
back then, they didn't care. I mean, we were young and drinking. I mean, Dad let us all have
A
a
sip.
sip. We weren't even teenagers. Heck, I was smoking. I mean, we used to go around and pick up, we had streetcar tracks then, and we used to go around and pick up used butts out of the streetcar tracks. And think, oh, this is a good one. Oh, we got a couple of puffs on here. Susie Zelnick was the first one to find a filter tip. It was a Herbert Tarrington filter tip.
Barbara.
Isn't that awful? These bums would throw all their cigarettes or no tip, no filters, and we used to pick them up and get a couple puffs out. And then if we couldn't find cigarettes, my mother had this great bush in the backyard, and they had hollow reeds
That we
on
did.
it. We used to smoke the hollow reeds.
Because it had a brown stuff on the inside.
And you could puff it enough to get. Isn't that stupid? And when I
You never did any of that.
No, I did- that's what I
Ronnie
was
never
thinking.
did that.
I was thinking,
I never did
I
it.
did this when I was about
No.
9, 10 years old.
They did
And
more
I'm doing
things.
this, and Kathy Zelnick is doing it with us, and Kathy must have been 5. We got her trained to pick up cigarette butts in the streetcar tracks.
Popsicle wrappers. We used to popsicle Pete.
Yeah, popsicle
Popsicle
Pete and for
Pete.
stuff.
So you didn't have to worry about streets being littered because we'd go around and we'd pick
Pick
up
up all the
all
trash.
the popsicle wrappers.
And
cigarettes.
the cigarette.
And the cigarettes.
Yeah.
And
those
the
were-
cigarette wrappers because it had foil on the inside and we saved
Oh,
it
we
for
saved
the
foil,
war.
made big bells out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Ricky would still.
Well, we used to take them even off the gum wrappers and put
Yeah.
it over a coin,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then try and get it to make just like that coin,
We saved
and then
that for the
slip off
war,
that
though.
edge.
We did that war for the war.
Mhm.
We saved those silver
We did.
wrappers off the cigarettes. And so because
I
you
was
had-
smoking them.
Boy,
You were saving them. I was smoking them.
Do you think you had this many memories? Can you remember as many memories?
I was thinking about that. I don't know. I
I
don't
don't think
know.
our kids do either. Because more than likely you growing up too had a blacktop driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I remember when they put it in.
Oh, you do. See, now we never had anything like that.
We
when
had
our
a
kids.
wonderful black
We
dirt
had
driveway.
dirt. We
Listen,
played marbles.
Marbles and
I
kicked
was
the
at
can.
work and we had just Annie's working for us, Brian's girlfriend, and we have just emptied the a bigger carton of milk, and so I crushed them because it fills up the container too fast. And so I crushed it and one stuck on this and I stuck it. I said, Annie, I remember that.
We used to put ropes on them. We used to
And
put
I
ropes
walked
on those in the water.
Annie looked at me. I said, did you ever do
Yeah.
this when you were a kid? I said, we used to do it with tin cans. I said, but
Right,
she
yeah.
looked-
the ropes and then walk with them. And stilts. Daddy always made us
Oh,
stilts.
Dad,
We'd stand on our
Steps.
back railing on the back porch. It'd be nice and high.
High and get right on them
Yeah,
and go
get
like
on those
crazy and
stilts.
hope you didn't break your neck.
Yeah, but boy,
Yeah.
that driveway was really nice because we could kick the can
Candy can.
We played at night with the Zelniks. We used to play prisoners
Break.
break.
Any over.
Any over. We had
No, we
I
got
don't know if
yelled.
kids
No,
can
we
do
got
that.
yelled at a lot for any over.
I don't
No,
know
the
if
ropes
kids-
are too high now, I think.
Really, that's what I mean. They can't do it.
Oh, we didn't.
I
Mother
did it
didn't
as
want
a
us
kid.
to.
We
She
did
didn't
it
want
over.
to have
We
ball
did it over
bouncing on
Zelnick's
Zelnick's garage. We did
Yeah.
because
Yes,
Until
I'm afraid
you
of-
and
I'm
Jimmy-
afraid for my windows.
Yeah, you did what?
I said I did that when I was a kid, but now I'm afraid for the
well,
the
yeah,
windows
you
in
have
my
to
house.
worry about the
Oh,
windows.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The garage was perfect because
Yeah.
it really weren't a lot of windows in that garage
No.
that I can
And
remember.
if you broke it, nobody mattered. No cars went into the garage.
No.
Well, George kept his in there, though. See, Stella, next door to us, where Zelnick's lived, that used to be a gas station. And the house is where they lived, but in the back, which was their garage, it was
A pit.
it was an auto repair place, and it was a
Grease
huge
pit.
double door, and then they had a pit where they'd work on the car, and then right next to it in the garage was a little door, and that was the office that was part of this
That
service
became
station.
George's printing
Ah.
Yeah.
side job printers.
Right.
He printed invitations. He did my wedding invitations and things. But he had, after all, that pit had a board over it, but he had a huge, massive printing machine
On the
in
other
there.
side.
But it just
Lots
never,
of 'em.
But he never ever really never came to
He
fruition.
even had some
It just-
outside.
yeah.
Even down in the basement, he used to have them.
He was obsessed with them.
He was
Yeah.
obsessed with
Yeah.
printing presses.
But
Get
that
that
was-
downstairs.
But then Bobby went into his profession
And so
like
did
his
Dick.
dad.
Dick was printer
And
too.
Dick too. And Dick too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah,
of them
yeah,
did.
Jim. Yeah, Jim was mailman. So.
When we used to have in the Washington Sidewalk Company in back of us, right in back of Mom and Dad's, there was
Yeah.
that little old gray building
Mm-hmm.
there, and then there used to be right next to that a lumber yard. And when I think now of what
Oh,
we
that
used
lumber yard was
God,
back
we
there,
used to
that's right.
crawl, and they were telephone poles
They were
stacked,
dangerous.
and we used to weave our way through those.
We didn't go there a
telephone
lot,
poles.
but we did do
No, we used to play hide and seek.
it. Yeah,
And
we didn't do
crawl
it a lot
into all
because
these
it really.
telephone poles until you could get buried way down in the bottom there.
Yeah, that lumber yard, is that what it was?
Barbara,
called?
you did more dangerous stuff.
Did we call it the lumber yard, Barb?
It
Is
was
that
the
what-
lumber yard.
It was
We
lumber
just
yard.
called it the
And
lumber
then when
yard.
Jimmy, the gas station was on the corner,
Yeah.
when Jimmy remodeled, he bought that
And
corner.
it became empty.
And it just became empty, it was
Yeah.
just the back of the gas
But
station,
that
but
was,
we used to crawl into
That was
that
right in
lumber
the
yard.
corner of our backyard.
Yes.
It was by the back by the
Stacked.
swing. Yeah.
Oh, they were stacked.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, when I think of it now, I wouldn't even walk in there, let alone crawl in
I know
there.
it, yeah, I know it. It's so
Well, Ronnie, we had talked about something that and it didn't come up, but we had talked about a favorite toy or animal or something that
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys
we
had.
did. I wonder
growing
if you girls would come up with the same name of a toy that I came up with when we were at home with Mom and Dad. When we were little kids, what was the name of our toy?
I don't remember a toy.
A teddy bear?
Archibald.
Oh, Archibald. Oh, Mama,
Auntie Dole
Yeah,
gave it
that's
to
right.
us.
Yeah.
Auntie Dole gave it
They
to
came
us.
up, see, I knew they'd come
You
up.
know
with-
what the kids have now, Chris? Mom always said, I had a little blue buggy and all the toys I had fit in that little buggy. And that was all. That was all, you know, we didn't have a lot of
No,
toys.
No, we didn't.
we
But
played
had-
outside.
We all had a teddy bear. I mean, maybe it was the same teddy bear for all of us.
I think it probably was.
And we called it Archibald.
I
Yeah.
don't. I mean, I remember Mother talking about Archibald because she
Oh,
bought
you
one for
remember
all the
it.
grandkids.
Yeah.
She got one for all of
Yeah,
our
I remember
kids when they
that.
were born, a teddy
Oh.
bear, and she said you call him Archibald.
Yeah, we had
But I
Archibald.
don't remember having Archibald when I was little.
Oh.
I remember
I
Cupid
don't remember
dolls.
buying all, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if, I wonder if Patty still has the one that, we had one. I don't
I
remember.
had a real
if I
big
do.
doll. I remember the doll.
And Patty may still have the, one that was given to the kids. And,
Yeah, he had.
I had
I
them
think
around
he
here
had
for a long
plaid
time.
pants on. I think he
No,
had
mine
pants
was just a
on.
teddy bear. It was just a teddy
Oh
bear.
yeah, no,
so
this one,
that
no, not the one I remember. He had clothes on. He had plaid pants for sure.
big. But we sure didn't have a lot of toys.
No.
And Dad made us a
No.
table and chairs. Remember that metal top?
Metal top.
I mean, that was around here.
That
We
was
had
for
it here
you.
for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Put those spindle legs on it. He
Mhm.
must have made us a chair.
The chair, and that's what I used to sit in the cold bin with.
Yeah, okay,
Was
we
that
had
little
a
white
chair.
chair.
So really, whatever we had.
And when I was born, and I was born about 4 years, just about 4 years after my grandma's last child. So there was only about 4 years between Helen and I.
Yeah.
Maybe 5. And Grandma at that time had bought Helen a rocking chair, my Aunt Helen a rocking chair. And then when I was born, my grandma said to my mom, Helen's bigger, she doesn't need this rocking chair anymore. And she says, so she gave it to me and I still have that rocking chair.
It's that little brown one, isn't it? Yeah.
I still have that
Sure
rocking
they are.
chair. It's got a,
Well, Mama was the oldest of all the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
no, George, I think George.
No.
No,
Mama
Mama was the
was.
oldest.
Mama was
no,
the
Mama
oldest.
was the oldest one.
Yeah, Mama was the
And then
oldest.
George.
Yeah, and then George.
Annie and Mike. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I don't know a lot of our cousins even going to like Georgie.
No, when we
You
get
know,
down
'cause
in our,
they were-
when we get down in
I
those
wasn't
half,
married when they were still having kids.
when we get down in those half brothers and sisters with Joey and Helen
Yeah.
and well, Auntie
Josie.
Josie,
We
we
know
do.
her
We know
kids.
Auntie Josie's kids pretty good. But we really don't know Joey and Margie's kids that well. I don't know them at all.
No, I don't know them
I
at all. I
know
don't even know their
Helen's.
names.
I know
Helen's,
Helen's, we
but
do.
not
Well,
Joey's.
Nancy the best because
Yeah.
she's the oldest.
Yeah.
And Wayne and Mark.
And Wayne
but I
and
don't
Mark.
know
We
them.
don't know them. No.
They could walk through the front door now and I wouldn't
No.
know who they
Oh,
were.
I would, but not Joey's kids at all.
No.
You guys have some traditions too that you've had for us. So they've changed a little bit over the years, but when I first knew you guys, you each did a holiday at each of your house for all of your families.
Yeah, we did stick together.
I had Easter a lot.
Yeah.
I had Easter at my house.
And
a
I had
lot.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Christmas.
Yeah, Barbara had
Yeah.
Christmas. Yeah, we did that, and we did it really a
A
long
long
A
time.
long time till you bought the lake.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
And then with the lake, we decided the 4th of July was your turn.
Yes.
yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
think you had Thanksgiving.
Still
We
had
I had
eliminated
Christmas. I
we
think we
eliminated
eliminated
Thanksgiving.
Easter.
No,
Or
we
eliminated
eliminated
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
No, you
Yeah.
didn't.
Well, you know what? We
Had
we
it for a
stayed
while.
it for a while, but then we decided Thanksgiving was so close to Christmas that we says, well then Marlene, you be 4th of July,
Mm-hmm.
and Barbara would be Christmas, and I did
Easter.
Easter. It switched. I didn't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that way very
did
long
Easter.
before we
No.
give it to you kids.
No, it wasn't
Because I
that.
remember Thanksgiving down
Yes.
You may have Christmas.
Yes.
on the
Yeah.
ping pong table. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your
It-
mom
we
with
did
the
do
sauerkraut.
that.
Sure.
Yeah,
Remember that?
yeah, we did do
Yes.
that, and that might have been Easter, Chris.
No, no, it was
You think
Thanksgiving.
it was Thanksgiving? Okay, because
Gravy in the thermoses.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, we did do
We
that.
still
You're
do
right.
that.
Yeah.
Well, I had
We did.
Easter on Yatesar still, because that was when Mom had that episode with
Yeah.
when she wasn't
Are you
very
sure
nice.
that wasn't a communion?
It wasn't. Oh, well, maybe it
It was
wasn't
a
a
commu-
holiday.
it was a
Oh,
communion.
okay. Oh, good way to celebrate a communion.
Yeah, it was a
Oh,
communion.
but you know one thing we did do for Easter all the time, and I still do. It's still my tradition, and so does my. Carrie for sure does this all the time. I don't know if Chris does. Connie does if somebody invites her. But Mom always, when we were kids growing up for Easter, Mom always made poppy seed bread. Our favorite, loved it.
It's a rolled bread.
It's a rolled bread, and it had, my mom made, we used to grind the poppy seeds. Daddy and I used to grind, I still have the poppy seed grinder at home. It's a coffee grinder, but we called it a poppy seed grinder. And we used to grind that poppy seed, and Mom made poppy seed bread. And then what we used to do, we made that bread on Saturday, and then Saturday late afternoon we used to go to church and get the food blessed. And tradition was that every you had blessed, that's what you eat for breakfast on
Sunday.
Easter morning.
Yeah.
So Mom never knew quite what to put in there. Some people would come with these big hams in their whole dinner. Oh, the church smelled really good. But Mom always used to put in a stick of Polish sausage, some of the poppy seed bread, and your
Horseradish.
hard-boiled egg that
Yeah,
you
our
had.
eggs, yeah.
And Daddy used to make homemade
And
horseradish.
a little shot glass of butter.
And a little bit of butter, and that was what she put in the basket. So then Easter morning, that's what we ate for breakfast.
Yes.
The poppy seed bread with cold Polish sausage
Yeah.
and cold egg
We did
and the
that.
butter. And
We
I
did
still
that
do that
for-
to this
And
day.
I did it for a long time
Yeah,
after we
I did it too
married.
for a long time.
Yeah.
When
They
until we
still
stopped
do
going
it.
and blessing the food, then I didn't do it anymore. But we did that too. That's what we had on the. And so we'd go for Easter. Really, we went early to mass on Easter. We would go like they.
Well, we used to do the processions.
6
Shrante,
o'clock.
shrante.
That was at 6 o'clock in the morning. We went like 6 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning.
wore our white robes.
They did that. I didn't ever do that because I didn't go to school there at that time. But that's what they did when you were in the procession. You would go up and down
Chris,
the
it
aisle,
had to be 5 o'clock mass.
and you
In the
would
morning.
sit there
Yes.
and you drop these flower petals. Svante,
Svante, Pong, Stem.
Yeah, they just did that. They did that around the whole church. That's what they kept on doing.
Hello?
Yeah, it's called a
Yes.
wedding. Yeah.
But last Easter was the first year that I didn't know what to do for Easter being in Florida. And I thought, I have done this all my life. For 60 plus years, I have had this Easter breakfast. And I thought, now I'm in Tampa. There's no Polish people in Tampa. They don't even know what poppy seeds are. I found a Polish deli down there last year, and I bought a loaf of poppy seed bread and a stick of Polish sausage. That was to die for. And Dolly cooked hard-cooked eggs.
Yep.
And we did it, and we went to church on Easter morning last year, and we came over afterwards and ate this silly little traditional Polish breakfast. I'm sure they won't ever do it again. I will, because I have always done it. But Carrie still makes the poppy seed bread all the time on Easter. And Chrissy did for a long time too, because she loves poppy seed, and Connie will go to whoever makes it.
And so does Greg. Chrissy, did Carrie make poppy seed bread?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was just, so that was a nice tradition, really. We did do
Yes.
that. And we did do it too for a long time.
Yes, we did too.
But I don't know when we stopped doing it. We didn't go have the food blessed, and if you didn't have the food blessed, it didn't seem like it had the same meaning anymore.
And now it's at the point where I can't quit.
We did for a long time, because Lynn was already married when we you know.
Well, then we started to try to do a tradition, but then you had the baby, so it changed things. But remember, Chris, we were going to a different church every Easter.
Yeah.
And I thought that would have been a fun, and we could have continued it, because that was, I thought this would be a nice tradition. We'll go to a different church every Easter. And we did it for about 3-4 years. And we came here and had breakfast, because we now stopped doing our family, and we did our own family.
Yes.
And so,
And now
And
the
now
big family tradition is
They're wonderful. I mean,
It's
what we do at
Christmas,
time is
yes.
nice.
yeah.
And our singing with our cards and all that. Yeah.
Just watching the
that's-
kids as they're growing up, and I mean, Chris is all her girls all grown up. Now few have boyfriends, and ours are grown up. It's amazing.
And when we sang our song last year at Connie's house, and Jack says, "Can we do it again?"
yes, I mean, that's so wonderful.
Oh, those are the
Can we do it
memories.
again?
You
That
know,
was
and I
another
was just
memory.
thinking about it, because I thought, are we going to do the same thing? It's a repetition every year.
Yeah,
And then
of
I said to
course.
myself, well, if we don't hear Rick sing 12 golden rings, it probably wouldn't be Christmas.
It would be Christmas.
yes,
Yeah.
that's right. That's
You know,
right.
and maybe the guys, we have to, my
Not
goodness,
anymore.
Greg and
No.
Sean, we
And-
have to say, come on now, do this.
No,
But
they're beyond that. They're
Listen, they
beyond.
wouldn't come.
I
If
know.
they didn't enjoy it, they wouldn't come. But nobody
Now we
misses
can
it
be in
anymore.
competition with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I think that was my first holiday with your family. Was
Shock.
Christmas. Very shocking. I have a small family.
Yeah.
It's a big family.
Yes.
And your mother
Through the
cracking
nuts.
me with a nut in the head, a Brazilian nut, a Brazil nut.
Yeah,
Again.
na sręcie, na zdrowie, na te zamazyżu.
Yeah,
Now say it right so we get it on tape.
I
They
can't
No,
say
I've got it
forever.
written down.
Na
I've got
święte, na zdrowie, na te Boga.
Boga.
I got it written.
I've got it written down,
Oh,
but I
I'm
have
so
to say
sorry.
it a couple times, then it comes right back to you.
And
Because I've got
Jeff,
it with the cards.
I got it.
and my son-in-law Jeff, when he first started going with Chris, and that was his first holiday was to come and have Christmas, and Mother came in and she's throwing the nuts. He just couldn't, he had no idea what was going on, and he went home and he said to his mom and dad, he said, you know,
Yeah,
Chris's
I know.
grandma came in the house and she threw something at us, I think it was pickles.
No, it's not Latina. See.
Okay,
it was
Marlene,
not-
say it.
It
We
was
have a
na
hard time with
szczęście, na zdrowie, na це Boga, narodzima. And it means good luck, good health for the birth of Christ is what it was.
Okay.
It was so, but it took us a while. I went to Nancy's where I get my hair done, and Jeannie
From our church.
from our church,
Yeah.
I said, I need somebody to write this down phonetically for us.
I know, and I was so poor I can't say it right now.
And
I
now,
can't get
and
it
we
out.
didn't do it last year because The nuts kids got carried away. I think
Kids got carried away with
Yeah.
that.
Because you
with the
switched to
nuts.
peanuts.
Huh?
Yes.
She never
We
used
did.
the soft nuts. She
No.
used the hard
Yes,
nuts.
she did.
Yeah.
And you switched to the soft nuts, the peanuts.
And we
Yeah.
should have
And that
just-
was a mess.
I
Yes.
know,
And it made a
was
mess.
awful.
It did,
was
it made a big
awful.
mess. Yes, it did.
So it ended up to be a tradition for you bigger kids. The little ones won't remember it
No,
as
no,
much.
no.
But
Yeah, you know,
And did she do that when you were
kids
too?
yes, oh, yes.
Well, you know what they did
we
on
grew up
Christmas?
with it.
Well, I tell
Did
you
her
what.
parents do that?
Yes.
Yeah. We did
Mother.
it on Christmas Day. For some reason on Christmas Day, they would take a bottle of booze and we'd go traveling from house to house.
From
Everywhere.
aunt and
And
uncle.
every time Mother walked in, she
She'd
threw
bring
the nuts and said the
Yeah.
blessing.
We did
What's
it
the
on Christmas
significance?
Day.
We were out
What's
of
the
school.
significance of the nuts?
I have
I
no
have no
idea.
idea.
I don't know.
I don't know if Mother does either.
What?
Knew what the
Why
meaning
the-
of the nuts were.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, she probably thought it was for good health. Good health, good
I
luck.
don't know, but it had to have some sort of
Yeah.
symbol.
But I
of
always
something.
remember her doing it.
Yes.
And then
And actually,
Clever.
when Dick and I were first married and we had Patty and Jim, we would go, of all peoples, we would go to Pat and Jim Conkle's house. We kind of did the same thing. We had nowhere to go on Christmas Day, apparently. That's when the kids were little. And we'd go visiting too. We did the same thing that Mom and Dad did for a little while. And one house I remember we always went to was Pat and Jim Conkle.
We'll see.
Don't ask me why. We were real close at the time. We were never real close with them, but
Oh yeah, because I remember Auntie Annie and Uncle Al and Penny and Judy, and they'd all
Always,
come over at
always.
Christmas, and we'd have a
Yes.
snort,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then
Move on.
they'd pick us up, and we'd take our bottle, and we'd go with Mom and Dad and Auntie Annie. We'd go to Auntie Josie's, and now we got Auntie Josie's, and now they're going to the next town.
Yeah.
We ended up going to a
It's
lot of
kind of
houses
called
on
like they
Christmas.
call it
Oh.
Eulaboggin or whatever you call it at New Year's Eve time.
DWIs were not around.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. That's what we
Oh.
did on Christmas.
Sure, I remember I was a senior in high school, and Marion, who is my girlfriend, and now she grew up right across the street from Lenny, right on three blocks away. And I was a senior in high school, and it was Christmas morning, and I said to Mom, "Mom, can I take this bottle and go up to Marion's and have a bump?" And she said, "Sure, go ahead." Marion's family is they were college educated, Swedish people, you know. Here comes this Polak that's, 16, 17 years old. And I'm going into Marion's, "Hi Marion, I gotta have a drink with me, it's Christmas."
Did you really?
I did. And I made one for her and her mom and dad, and we had a highball. I'll never forget that. Yeah, go ahead, take Dad's car.
Oh God.
As you can see, Chris, we did not live really what you would call a dull life.
We did not have a traditional.
Sometimes it wasn't classy either.
No, we did. We had
Good
we had more
times.
memories than we would think we had.
Well, you just think about how boring their lives would be if we weren't in them.
I know it.
I mean, Marion had a wonderful time knowing us.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. We got her friend Marion, who she wouldn't have the drink with. Well, she became our bowling teammate and is like another sister to us.
Yeah.
She always says
Still in our car club.
she's the adopted
You
sister.
kids had way more fun than I did.
Well, that's because you got
You're the
married way
oldest.
too young.
I just definitely,
Yeah,
I
because
thought I set
yeah.
an example for them. It was the other way around.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mother used to get mad at me a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
not,
she did.
I mean, every time I would do something, she'd always say, "Oh, you damn fool." She was
Yeah.
kidding, you know, but I would tease her, and she's, "Oh, you damn fool."
But we really did have a lot of fun. And like I say, we adopted Marion, and then at the bowling alley, Betty became part of our group, and she's like
That was in 1965.
she's like another adopted person, part of our family.
Yep.
Because Marlene knows her because of the going on our trips.
Trips.
And everything. Everywhere we go, Betty's always there.
Mhm.
So she's always.
And when you had your bump in the road, rather than going to our senior tournaments on Saturday, we came here and played cards a little bit.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so
But we had a fun family. I mean, we had fun relatives, and they all got along.
Uncle George played the banjo. I loved it.
Joey played the mop.
Oh,
Remember the green mop?
no, that was
That was the 25th
I
wedding
know, but
anniversary.
that was Uncle Louis Chopak.
Oh, is
They
that
scraped
right?
the floor. Christy
Okay,
would scrape the floor and
you
make
have to put
noise, and they
salt
thought
on it.
that was music.
You put salt on your floor,
Yep.
and he ruined the hardwood
He did.
floor.
We didn't have wall-to-wall carpeting back then. We had hardwood floors, but then we had an area carpeting. You know, we had a space in the middle between
Barbie,
the dining
that
room.
was
I should have played
For
jacks
my
there.
wedding.
No, it was the 25th.
No, it was the
wedding
25th
anniversary.
wedding anniversary, and he
Yes, it
sat
was.
on that telephone stand
Yeah.
with that mop going squeak, 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 drunker than a
Trying to
skunk.
keep up with the music of the concertina and everything.
And when he's all done and we looked the next day, the hardwood floor was ruined.
They were crazy relatives.
Mother
let me
never
tell you.
cared.
No.
They were crazy relatives.
They were. Like I said, they all got along. The husbands and the wives and the whole batch, and nobody moved away. Well, it's Minnesota. If you lived here, you're born here, you live here, you die here. Nobody moves out of Minnesota and nobody moves here from another state. So everybody stayed here and they were all remained so close.
Yes,
Yeah.
they did. No
There's-
hard feelings.
No.
You know, no
Our
one
weddings
ever.
were a blast.
Yes.
Oh.
And if you didn't have fun, it was your own fault.
It was
We
your own-
always said
If
that.
you didn't come home from a Polish wedding with runs in your nylons and
You didn't have
bruises
fun.
on your legs, you didn't have fun.
Yeah, we gave you a lot of fun.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I
Who
suppose
played the
we better
concertina?
Wrap it up.
wrap it up.
Uncle Joey played the Uncle George played the concertina
Oh,
too.
yes.
Uncle
they
Boy
all
played
did.
the accordion.
Accordion.
They all played the
Yeah, they
concertina
all
a
did.
little bit. Yes, they
Dad
did.
played bones.
Yep, Dad
They're
played.
two metal sticks varnished like
Yeah,
that.
They
and
weren't
used to-
metal, Barb. They
No,
were
they were wooden.
They're wooden.
wooden. And
Yes.
he used to put in between his fingers somehow. It was like playing bongos or that, but he could get a
Oh,
rhythm and play a
good,
song
really,
on these
yeah.
bones.
He
It
was
was
good.
amazing.
He
He
had,
talented.
those were his special bones.
He was talented because
Yes,
he
he
didn't
was.
have, none of these people ever had any lessons.
No.
All came naturally.
Nope, and George would come over with the saxophone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. We
The
had
weddings lasted 3 days.
Yes, because I remember when I got married. Okay, now the next day we were going to the World's Fair in Seattle. And I forgot to leave money for a deposit on my furniture was being delivered to my mother-in-law's house. And I wanted to call and have somebody get the money to her so that she wouldn't have to do anything. And I remember calling from Watertown, South Dakota. And I wanted to tell them this and I thought, I can't hear you, the music's too loud.
Yeah.
All I could hear, and it was you that I was talking to. You said, "Oh, we're having a ball."
Well, see, that was the day our parents could have fun. Because they, well, like on Marlene's especially, they did all that darn work.
Mm-hmm.
What fun could they have? So now they let loose the next day and have all the fun.
Had a ball,
And
I-
Mother always tells about my mother and Dad got married here, but the ceremony must have been here. But they took their wedding party to Weyerhaeuser,
Weyerhaeuser.
Wisconsin. So Mother was still in her bridal gown, and Dad was driving, pouring down rain, and the bride was standing outside. I don't know why she was outside of the car. Dad
Was
had
stuck.
Dad had a flat tire. He had to fix a flat tire. And she's, here's the bride dripping wet, she said.
Well,
So they went to Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin for the reception.
and they had to end up walking, and they had to walk through a cow pasture. And my mother had her wedding dress in the cedar chest for probably till the day they moved out of that house. And every once in a while, Mother would take it out and hold it up, and she'd say,
It's cow shit.
"Here's the cow shit."
She used to say that.
Yep.
Boy. Well, okay. Now we can go home and watch the Gophers.
Life's been good.
Yes, life has been
Oh, life's been good.
good. Life's been
Yeah.
We realize it more now that we just relived it all.
Yes.
In a few hours.
good. Were there
Yeah.
things I would change? No, I don't think I would.
No.
I mean, it's, you
No.
know,
You might take bowling lessons.
a few.
So you could
Yes.
have gone on more of this.
She tried it once.
I did bowl in the league one time.
She did an afternoon.
I
you did an
I
a
bowled
morning.
at 81 one time.
Yeah, she bowled in the morning. Little morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Mother took care of Paul.
It was
one-
harder because you had babies, Mar.
Yeah.
And then we already were started. We started bowling before we were married.
Yeah.
Mhm, yes,
So
I was
we
right
were
out of high
already
school and I
involved
started
in
with
it.
you.
We were so involved in it, and then I did stop for a little while when I had the babies, and I remember because those kids had those little walkers that they scooted around, and I used to use my bowling ball. I set it in between the kitchen and the living room at Sotex, And I remember saying to Dick, I want to use my bowling ball. I don't want to use it as a doorstop anymore. And so that's when I joined a league up at Lori Lane's. Barbara didn't join quite yet. I had joined a team.
I was Diane McNasky.
Yeah, we had not Marion and Barb, but I joined all people I didn't know except for Diane.
But I bowled.
That's where I met. That's where I met Betty.
At
And-
Lori Lane's?
Sure I did.
Yeah, not at
Uric.
Yeah, it was Uric.
Uric.
And that's where I met Betty, because Betty and I ended up on the same team. But then as we lost bowlers, we got Marion and Betty on our team. And that's why we kept
They
on
still
bowling.
wouldn't ask me, Chris, because even if I took bowling lessons, I just
No,
you
she
know-
called me and said, do you want to bowl? We need